We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
It's not Friday, believe it or not. It's Saturday.
I love Twitter.
Anyone who's been reading our Twitter for the last few minutes will realize that Clint is learning Twitter very slowly. But we're getting there. Those who don't know, I'm usually the one doing the tweeting, and Clint's trying to tell me what to say most of the time. So I let him take to it for the night. So that should be interesting.
I'm done.
I apologize now for anything that's incoherent on Twitter. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm sore.
So, now before you get into that, because I know you are in a much better mood since you've eaten.
Yeah. Oh God, wasn't I not really cranky earlier today?
You were a pumpkin. Your stem was poking out. You were. I haven't seen you in a mood that bad since the Oakland Athletics swept the Boston Red Sox.
Well, and that's my problem, If I don't eat, I'm one of those people that I absolutely lose it and I just start falling apart. So,
well, not only did you have a stem out, but your tiara was crooked. It was. They should make a Snickers commercial. I'm just throwing that out there.
I couldn't agree more. I'm like Joe Pesci. Have you ever seen that commercial with the two guys?
No, I was thinking Betty White or Roseanne Barr or. So how you feeling tonight?
Me and Roseanne, that's actually a good.
You could actually totally.
And you'd never be able to tell us apart.
I was just going to say you could actually dress up as her for Halloween and be awesome.
Oh, that's too funny.
We should do that. You should be Roseanne Barr and I'll be DJ.
Oh, and it starts. So, other than that, your week was good?
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you, I took a little boy to his first ball game. Well, probably his first ball game that he'll remember. He actually got a foul ball.
No kidding.
Totally excited. Yeah. Totally excited. It was a good time. Good time.
Did you have to knock over another adult to get said foul ball?
I'm not answering that question on the air.
You weren't that guy that rips it from another little kid and gives it to yours, were you?
Little kid, no. She was 13.
Yes, she was.
She was strong. She bit me and everything.
Well, it's good to see that the black eye is finally healing. Just keep putting ice on it, buddy. You'll be fine.
I can't believe the cops wouldn't accept my citizen's arrest.
Well, she totally hit you first, didn't she?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
My only question is, how did you look on the big screen out in center field?
The Jumbotron?
Yeah,
how do you think I look? I look awesome.
Well, yeah, that's usually how you look after you get beaten up by a 50.
Well, yeah, especially when I have a paper bag on my head.
Hard to see the black eye through it, but it works.
Hard to see the ball, too.
The one she jammed in your mouth, broke all your teeth. Fine, you want it? Here, old man.
I didn't know it was worth that much to you. I've got 3.
Oh, man.
So, and now what about you? Did you take your ibuprofen?
Oh, God, I am sore.
Speaking of getting butts kicked by the younger generation.
So I have relatives in from out of town from back east, and my niece and my nephew are both 13, and we're thinking of fun things to do. One of them we did was
I think your niece was the one who wrestled the foul ball away from me.
Actually, it wouldn't shock me. She's a black belt. So she legitimately probably could.
At 13?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. No exaggeration. Yeah, she's pretty badass.
Okay, no need to brag. Go ahead. Sorry.
So we decided to do one of those indoor rock climbing gyms.
Yeah.
And at first I wasn't even going to do it, and then I got called out a lot of old statements, and So I said, I'll hang with the kids. And I did it, and I actually made it to the top a few times, which was shocking. Moving my frame up 25 feet in the air is kind of scary.
Now, were you on the big wall, or were you on the toddler wall?
I started with the toddler wall, and I fell off that a few times, and I said, hey, this doesn't hurt that bad. I'm going to the big one. No, but So can I get the bungee on the toddler wall? What do you mean I'm not tall? What do you mean I'm too tall? And I'll tell you something. I had a fear of heights that I can remember. But they have an auto belaying system, so you hook in, and it's like a machine that counterbalances your weight and slows you down if you fall and all that.
Okay.
I watched it work probably 10 or 15 times before I tried to use it. Everyone else was climbing, whatever. The guy, I kind of wanted to smack the guy, and I'll tell you why. When he looks at me, and I'm asking him about the auto belay thing, and all I want to know is how it worked, like what sensor, just trying to figure it out. And he goes, oh, you don't have to worry. It'll hold people up to 500 pounds, so you should be okay.
So why were you upset about that?
Listen, I'm not as young and thin as I used to be, but I'm nowhere close to 500 pounds. And the fact that he said should be okay was a little insulting. So I threw out all of his granola. I did. I took his whole thing of granola. I threw it right out the window. I smashed tofu in his face, and I left.
What'd you do with his Birkenstocks?
No, they were on the other side of the room. I wasn't walking that far by the time I was done.
Did you take his Occupy poster?
Actually, he wasn't a bad guy. But we had a good time. I did make it. I did live through it. I did get bragging rights because on one of the walls I did get higher than the other two. So that was my last.
Was that because they didn't climb it?
No, it was the toddler wall. They're like, I'm not even doing that. So, so I paid for it. I was a little sore, but what are you going to do?
Take ibuprofen. We just covered that.
A lot of it. I took a lot of ibuprofen. So,
what else?
Well, this week, a good friend Rooster over at Conservative Outcry put up forums for us on the Conservative Outcry page.
Thank you, Rooster.
So if you go to conservativeoutcry.net and click on the Sackhead forums, there's a whole bunch of forums under there. They're just starting to get going. There's not too much, but if you're around, check it out and definitely participate. One of the cool things that we're doing, and this was Rooster's idea, I'll give him full credit, is be part of the Sackhead Army. Take a picture with a sack on your head, like if you've seen us.
A paper bag. I'm just going to clarify right now. Paper bag.
Our pictures are up. You've seen them, kind of how we roll. And, participate. Take a picture of yourself, upload it, let us see who you are, where you're from. If it's really good, we'll post it as part of our show stream. And, we'll give you credit and maybe a shout-out next week.
And feel free to draw faces, decorate your paper bag, whatever you want to do to make it interesting.
The more the merrier. And there's plenty of people on Twitter who listen to us.
We have 3 followers now, so that's...
It's actually double that now.
Oh, wait, what's that?
It's
Never
5.
mind. I'm looking at a completely different
double
number.
3 is 5, right?
Yeah.
So definitely make it good, make it all up.
Dude, you're stammering. What? Do we have a phone number tonight?
We do. It's 347-205-9399 if somebody wants to call in. Now, I will warn you, Clint has access to the board tonight. So out of the blue...
Like, I know how this thing works. What's this button do?
If out of the blue, all of a sudden, like, we answer and we're talking, and then I don't realize that he answered and he doesn't know how to answer and he did it accidentally, and you start participating and I hang up on you, it's not your fault. So I'll just tell you that right now. It's Clint's fault. A lot of it tonight is going to be Clint's fault. Wow, really?
What? I got to make sure I know how this works.
So let's get into it, and because we've been moving.
We taking a commercial?
No, we're not taking a commercial.
Oh.
Tonight we're going to get, let's get right into it. I want to get into the repealing the amendment idea that we talked about.
What?
And I am doing everything you're not supposed to do in live radio. I just moved my microphone.
No, you just wiggled in your chair. Your microphone is resting on top of your chest, which is awesome. Don't listen. The people can't see us, and we need to have an open, honest relationship with them. Okay?
No, I'm lying.
So,
do you want to go in order? Do you want to do 16 then 17?
No, that makes too much sense.
Okay, 17 first.
No, I didn't say that.
All right, fine. We'll go back to the 16.
I don't know which one I wanted to do.
Why do you want to repeal the Second Amendment?
No, what? What kind of communist are you? Oh, speaking of that's another idea that came up for Sackheads Radio, because we are moving towards this socialist quasi-communist state, we're contemplating replacing all of our C's with the letter K, just to honor our potential move towards communism. What do you think, comrade?
Comrade, I think we must do it.
We'll deal with the Russians later when we talk about Syria.
Oh God!
But
why do you have to tease like that? I think that's called a teaser in radio. When you bring
because
up
we're trying to be
about radio later on.
We're trying to be a little more professional, so I was throwing that out there. Why do you have to call me on it?
Well, because I didn't know what the hell you were doing. You've never been professional before. Why would you start now?
I'm not. Do you see me with pants on right now?
No, but I've never seen you with pants on. So, which one do you want to start with?
Whichever one I decide to talk about right now.
Go for it.
And okay.
We'll be back after. No, I'm just kidding.
So, I don't know what got me on this kick this week. Maybe it was of our discussions last week on California, which, by the way, I loved our discussions last week, and we apologize for the sound quality. Hopefully we've fixed that this week with some issues. But growing pains, this is only our third live show. But
yeah, but it's our first awesome one.
No, we've had several awesome ones. Go back and listen to the previous podcast. I was doing research just because I do, and you know me, I'm one of those people where I read. I have like 5 or 6 books going at one time, and
yeah, you're not well.
Decide what I've never claimed to be.
Okay.
And one of the things I've thought about it before and talked about it before, not on this show, I don't think, maybe just in passing, but the 17th Amendment of the Constitution, and what that is it provides for the election of United States senators by popular vote.
Now, wait a minute. What's wrong with that? I don't even have to look at you. Okay, we all know what's wrong with that. Go on.
Okay. Well, no, not all of us do. Some people think that sounds like a really good idea. And just to give a little background, the senators used to be chosen by the various state legislatures. And
you mean the way it was intended to be by the founders?
Yeah, hence I said the way it used to be done. Sorry.
I'm trying to color. I'm trying to do a little color commentary.
Listen, I'm angry.
Okay, go.
Okay. So they were chosen by the various legislatures and put in. And what happened is there was a lot of corruption. There were bribery taking place, special interests, and so forth were there's a lot of corruption in the process. So with the intent to stem some of that corruption, there was a movement to go to the popular election of the senators. And there's a couple problems with direct election of the senators. First of all, the premise of the fact that you have the regional citizens, the citizens of a particular area, a smaller area, who elect their representatives to a state legislature. And those state legislators are supposed to be people of virtue, people of principles, who are able to come together and therefore appoint or elect senators to represent the states.
Right.
Well, if the legislators are and in effect appointing people to the Senate who are corrupt or as a result of corruption.
Which would never happen.
Yeah, there's no corruption in government. The people wanted to looked at the system and said, hey, the system is broken. We need to fix the system. So, therefore, instead of allowing the legislators to continuously appoint senators, because that system has become corrupt, we need to change the system. And they did that by passing the 17th Amendment, which basically took the right to appoint the senators out of the state legislators' hands and into the hands of the people.
So when was that? Do you remember?
Like 19.
It was early, right? It was like 1918.
Yeah, it was early. I believe it was 1913.
13. I apologize.
Yeah, right around Woodrow Wilson. Weird. That's another story, though.
That's weird.
But here's the fundamental issue with that. The thought was that the system was broken, therefore you need to change the system. I think the problem wasn't the system. I think the problem was the people.
Yeah, as always.
The people got people elected legislators who were corrupt. And therefore, instead of looking upon themselves and saying, hey, we are electing people who are corrupt, and therefore that's where the corruption is coming from, they decide to change the system instead of looking in and saying, you know what, maybe people of value, we need to elect people who represent us based on principles. What happened? And that's a whole discussion perhaps for another show. That's not what happens even today.
Right.
The way that our government was originally designed is we had and by the way, in the Constitutional Convention, the idea of direct election of senators was kicked around, and there was only one of our founders who disagreed with that premise. One out of everybody in the Constitutional Convention. So I don't know, maybe that shows that it wasn't such a
popular idea.
Yeah. And that guy was.
You mean
James Wilson was the only member of the Constitutional Convention who supported electing the senators by popular vote.
Bruce is in the chat room. His guess was Joe Biden. He thought it was Joe that was in the Constitutional Convention.
By the way, we had a discussion earlier about Joe Biden.
Off track. Here we go.
Completely off track, and a discussion that Sean and I want to see happen.
I do want to have.
So remind us, and we'll get back to it. But I'm not going to talk about it right now because I'm on another point.
All right, I'm going to write it down though.
Yeah, write it down because we'll forget, and we're trying to stay on point. So the House of Representatives was originally designed to represent the people, the individuals. Okay, from a specific geographic area, people go to the House of they represent their local constituency at the federal level. They represented the people. The state legislators were supposed to elect the senators in order to represent the interest of the state.
Wait, are you saying that would create some sort of balance?
Well, yeah, and then you had the presidency that obviously was the executive of the federal government.
Whoa.
And therefore you would have the power of the people represented. You have the people's interests themselves represented. They would in turn elect state legislators who would be principled people and elect proper senators who would care for the state's interests. And then you had the president, obviously, as the executive. And when this changed, this was actually big.
It's amazing. And again, for a group of racist aristocrats that our founders were, it's amazing that they would put in such a great system that would keep and maintain balance.
It would, and that's
it's almost like they knew what they were doing.
Almost, but if you listen to the progressives, they didn't because times change. And why are you trying to get me angry?
I'm sorry. Go back.
No, you're trying to get me angry. So now let's look at the current system. It's more of a move towards pure democracy,
Which we were never designed to be.
No, the founders warned us against being a true democracy in a lot of their writings. I mean, it's not hard to research and do. You can do that yourselves. You don't need a lecture from me on that. They warned us against becoming a pure democracy. So when the 17th Amendment was ratified and the senators were chosen by popular vote, you basically had the people now represented in two houses, and the state lost their representation. It was a huge power grab for the federal government because you took a major obstacle to federal expansion of power out of the way. How many states, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, how many states brought lawsuit against the federal government for the health care bill?
I honestly want to say it was like 22, 24.
Somewhere around there. I don't have an exact number. It may have actually
been more by the time everything was said and
done. I don't know, but I think you're close with that figure. Do you think that this health care bill is in the best law of the states? Of course not. The states are going to be eating a huge cost.
Enormous.
Is there any way that if
more of a cost than they already do?
Yes. Is there any way that you think the state senators, knowing that they have to, or their state legislators, would have voted for a bill like that, knowing that their states would have to incur such a huge expense? They wouldn't be able to sustain it. No, absolutely not. But because they were elected by the people, now you have party faction and everything else involved. They're able to pass these major programs through. The 17th Amendment allowed for a massive expansion in government. It completely negated the state sovereignty, not completely negated it, but severely diminished state sovereignty and the 10th Amendment to our Constitution. And as a result, especially with the laws that we're seeing passed today, I'm calling for the repeal of the 17th Amendment. I'm not the first one to do it, but I'm doing it here today.
Well, this would actually bring us back to a more balanced system. States' rights gets trampled on constantly, and we've talked about this before, and I think in our podcast before we did live shows. It's getting trampled on again with Obamacare, and the more states get chipped away at, their rights get chipped away at, they lose their independence and their sovereignty as a state, and they become more one rather than individual, because that's part of the beauty of this country is we have 50 individual states with 50 individual laws. Some of them are different. Constitution gives the minimum amount of rights allowed, but the states could give you more different laws. There are some states that are very free when it comes to firearms and gun control, and if you want to live in one of those states, you can go to it. And other states, like our friends on the West Coast, are the exact opposite in the sanctuary state out there in California with the K.
Yeah, I like that. See, but that brings up a completely new argument on the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is not supposed to be infringed by anybody, period. And the 10th Amendment gives the states the rights to address things not enumerated in the Constitution. The Second Amendment specifically is the rights of the people, or pertains to the people, but the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's a discussion for a whole other show. But if you read the founders' writings and so forth on the Second Amendment, the people are absolutely supposed to be able to have the same types of arms as the military and so forth, because how else can they defend themselves against potential oppression or tyranny if they don't? So, but again, that's a discussion for another show, and I think that'd be a good idea. We need to do a segment on the Second Amendment at some point.
I couldn't agree with you, but it kind of brought up...
You couldn't agree with me? Why not?
I couldn't agree with you more.
Oh.
I couldn't agree with you on a lot of different things. Like wearing pants in the studio, I feel that's required. You don't. That's fine. I couldn't agree with you more. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, is when politicians, the president, representatives, any elected official starts to go against their oath, at what point does it become a violation of law versus just a punishable offense?
Well, how many progressives go against their oath?
Constantly.
I mean, how many of them actually protect, defend, and uphold the Constitution of the United States? But yeah, exactly. But yeah, we look at each other. Well, it's a living, breathing document. No, it's not a living, breathing document. It's a document established, it's set in stone, and if you want to change it, there's an amendment process you have to go through. It's not meant to be interpreted in, moonbeam, I think this means this today. No.
Moonbeam. No, it's totally true, and if anyone...
What's your name? My name's Happiness. How are you? I think this should mean this today. We all get free daisies. Everybody has to wear a daisy in their hair because it makes everybody feel wonderful. It's so great. Pass the joint.
To where?
What?
What? Actually, no, I'd pass the hamburger joint and just go to the Packy store. But that's me. Yeah, no, I agree with you. We have to get away from states losing their rights. States have to maintain their individuality. And politicians need to respect the Constitution, not constantly try to sidestep it, like say...
But they don't, so how do we fix it?
You get rid of them.
I like that. You vote them out.
Yeah.
But in the meantime...
People need to stop paying attention to what the hell they're doing when they go into the voting booth and stop just voting what's popular.
But they don't. And we also have this problem. Even though we have this 17th Amendment was created with the intention of getting rid of bribery and corruption and so forth, how much do we still have now? How many times...
all the time.
The people have, in the state of California, we talked about it last week, are so disillusioned with their state legislature. The state legislature has a poor rating, and yet the same party has been in control. The Democratic Party has been in control since 1970, with the exception of 1 year.
Right.
The Republicans had it only in the Assembly. The Senate was still Democrat, and yet they're that disillusioned, they're that upset. Yet they keep electing the same stinking people. How many people have been in there for how long, or go to a different office because of term limits or whatnot?
No,
So you had the 17th Amendment. It was meant to fix one problem. It didn't. What it did is it caused the states to lose their sovereignty, a lot of its sovereignty. It pushed us more towards a pure democracy. Okay, now how do we account for the rights of the states, or how can states survive when you have a federal government that's expanding so rapidly and it's swallowing up their interests? That's the problem. And see, now I'm angry.
Well, and actually, Rooster in the chat room just brought up a really good point. First of all, he's trying to get the people in the chat room, if you're not in the chat room, jump in. He's trying to get the people in the chat room to play What Nancy Pelosi Mated With. So far, we're up to Brock Lesnar and Michael Moore. So hopefully that'll add. But Rooster says, that 1970...
Wait, I got one.
Okay.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I already said Michael Moore.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Yeah, my bad.
But Rooster says, hey, what if the 1970 Democrats are not the 2012 Democrats? And they're not. He's right.
But in California, they are. The progressive movement was in full swing. The progressive movement was in full swing.
At the end of the hippie era.
The turn of the century.
It started.
The turn of the 20th century. And so, yeah, the 70s Democrats, the hippies, and the feel-good people of that time are still there today. They just cut their hair and took a shower.
Well, you had the SLA?
Case in point, Jerry Brown was governor in California back then, and he's governor again now. I mean, nice work.
No, really. And actually, we have a thought bubble from Governor Moon being right about here.
Oh.
So it's nice of the governor to check in with us. No, and somebody else, it's Rooster again bringing up the point is that, Reagan was a 70s Democrat and late 60s Democrat. But I'm not saying
he was the exception, though, because he understood. Yeah, and now being a Democrat is different than being a progressive.
Totally different.
And he was a conservative Democrat based on his beliefs at the time. Exactly. We've had progressive Republicans in office as well, both at the national level and various state levels. So there's a difference between being a Democrat versus being a progressive Democrat. And in California, if you look at the history, there have been progressive Democrats that have pushed all of these issues through, and we discussed a lot of them last week. Now, that's fine. If California wants to be progressive, go be progressive, and you appoint senators who are progressive, but you have the rest of the nation who appoints their senators on state interests. California may always be a progressive state, and they may always have progressive senators. But what about Nevada? You have Harry Reid. Do you think that the Nevada legislature would have Harry Reid now when they're facing health care bills? Maybe they would. I don't know. Or some of the other senators on a nationwide level, about 22, 23, 24, however many it was, states who brought lawsuit against the federal government for health care. How many of those would have prevented the passage of this health care bill and saved the taxpayers of each of those states how much money from bringing these lawsuits and everything else? It's ridiculous.
Well, and it's the same old story. More and more, it's the nanny state spending more money than we have, trying to take care of people who don't want to take care of themselves, and punishing the people that do the right thing. They go to work, they pay the taxes, they try to, be free Americans and enjoy themselves. And
pay taxes?
Yeah. Well,
really?
They pay their income taxes, which is required by law.
Okay. Well, since we're on that note, let's go ahead and talk about the 16th Amendment, too.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to take a break?
No, I want to talk about the 16th Amendment. I'm angry.
All right, so I apologize now to our oh, no, wait, nobody paid our commercials. So, yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Let's take a break before we get into this. I need a breather.
All right, the phone number to call in is 47205-9399. When we come back, we're going to discuss the 16th Amendment.
17th Amendment. God,
we'll be back in a minute. You're listening to Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before.
check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. ConservativeOutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on ConservativeOutcry.net. Hey guys, do you like our news briefs? Better yet, do you like the amazing voice that does our news briefs? Do you need some audio work done? Check out PlatinumVocalCords.com. Our friend Vanessa has years of broadcast experience. She's an absolute professional. She'll work with you, get the sound exactly how you'd want it. So go to PlatinumVocalCords.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Do you have some breaking news you want the Sackheads Radio Show to cover? Call us at 1-877-308-1866 and be a news hound like this gal.
Hey, so I heard that, what did I hear? Yeah, I forgot. Dang it. I hate when I do that. All right, go Sackheads Radio.
That's right. With information like that, it's got to make it on the air. So give us a call at 1-877-308-1866 and be a news hound.
Now back to Clinton Sean on Sackheads Radio. Radiating elegancy and quality.
And then he's got California over there. Then he gets their heads out of their ass. How many other states have to fall before we got the damn health care bill?
Dude.
What?
We are totally back right now.
Get my headset back on.
You didn't even shut the door to the studio?
Really?
Well, you put your fist through it. I figured you could shut the door. Hold on, everyone. We're waiting for Clint. So,
Don't laugh anymore.
So
Hi.
that was awesome.
I feel better.
It's not often you go off like that, and when you do, I really appreciate it.
I think I need medical attention. I might have broken my
Too bad.
hand.
You did it yourself.
What?
So, why should I have to pay for it? You did it. You suffer for it.
Really? Why do you have to pay for it? You're going to get me all fired up again?
So,
I need
the
more
phone number to
caffeine.
call in 347-205-9399. Feel free to call in right now. We just ripped apart the 17th Amendment. Clinton ripped apart the door and his vocal cords.
Hang on. Whose call is that up right now? Yeah, we're talking to them. Hang up, Mom. Perfect. See ya.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your mom to call in again, so that should be fun.
That's who I just hung up on.
So we're going to jump into the...
You know what? I want to talk about taxation since we just left off at that point. Now, you know I'm a big fan of the flat tax.
Yeah.
I hate the argument of everybody needs to pay their fair share. And I
agree.
That everybody needs to pay their fair share?
Everybody.
I agree. If you get $1,000 a year in welfare, then your fair share is, let's say, 10%. So guess what? You write a check for $100. Congratulations. You paid your fair share. 10%. Good job. If you make $1 million, you pay 10%. Guess what? You just wrote a check for $100,000. You paid your fair share. Good job. Okay? How is that not fair? One person paid $100. One person paid $100,000. It was 10% of their incomes. Period. That's fair. The rich person still paid more. Hey, progressives, what part of that do you not freaking understand? They paid their fair share.
Yeah, but if they have nice things, everyone else should have nice things.
Yeah, then work for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Get an education. Work for it. Get a job. Save your money. Not everybody's gonna. I don't have a yacht. I don't have a Lamborghini. I don't have a. But you do, but that's we bought it together. So I guess technically we have a yacht. You rich white guy. Seriously.
My 14-foot Chrysler Tri-Hull with a hole in the floor and an engine that doesn't run.
By the way, I still say we turn that thing into a PT boat and just
14-foot PT boat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I say we paint it up as a full war vessel. Fly the flag off the back, paint like some broomsticks black or something, and just roll.
Just get big PVC pipes for the torpedo tubes.
Better yet, no. I say we turn it into a carrier. We put just. Hear me out. We put a big piece of plywood right around where we would sit to drive it, and we could launch remote-controlled aircraft and recover them from it. Dude, we could rig a system with like little water balloons or whatever and take off from the deck and fly it up and go other boaters and drop a water balloon on them, put a little camera on it.
Right now.
No, this is a great idea. I'm running with this. Dude, we're doing a working boat this week.
We need a theme, though. We'll have to have a theme. Like a theme song so we can just jam it when we come up a channel.
McHale's Navy.
By the way, he passed away this week, which is a shame. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I did not.
Ernest Borgnine did pass away this week.
Thanks for bringing me down.
Yeah, well, I had to bring you back down because you were getting out of control. So
okay.
It's a shame because he actually did serve our country, and he was in a lot of great movies, and he was a pretty big conservative from what I understand. So,
was he? Yeah, but we'd be upset. I mean, we'd pay respect even if a liberal died.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're actually respectful human beings, and we're not like the other side where we celebrate somebody else's death simply because we disagreed with them.
Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
He passed away 2 weeks ago, and that was a shame because, and actually, Rooster wrote a great article about this, and I agree totally, is the Andy Griffith show was all about values. And it was an older show, and I remember watching it when I was a kid. And he was a big liberal outside of his acting. But all of that show, I remember watching it as a kid, then you got to the age of 13 where I'm like, oh, this is hokey and silly. Then the older I got, I watched it again a few times, and I'm like, man, wouldn't it be great if people actually had all those values again? They kind of cared about the people that lived around them, and people, towns took care of each other, and people did it out of the kindness of their hearts and not because the government's making them do it.
Yeah, and there's a show like that on now, isn't it? Jersey Shore? Something like that, isn't it? What?
No, it's exactly like that.
Yeah, it's real similar.
So let's get into the 16th Amendment.
So we talk about. I'm a big fan of the flat tax. We've talked about that. And I just went in on that. Fair share. Guess what? 10% of whatever is fair. Everybody pays it. People who make more pay more. People who make less pay less. And I think if you get welfare or any kind of federal assistance, you should be taxed on that money as income as well. But that's a different discussion. The 16th Amendment of the Constitution gives Congress the power to enact an income tax. And I disagree with an income tax, but that's where we are. So tax, I think it should be a flat tax. But something interesting on the 16th Amendment, and it's not so much a call for repeal, but a call for an investigation into facts, a call for
its legitimacy.
And here's where this comes from. In I believe 1985, an individual by the name of Bill Beckman and a partner, Mr. Beckman, published a book called The Law That Never Was. And it's a study that actually investigated the ratification process of the 16th Amendment. And what their purpose was that the states that needed to ratify this, there were some problems with some of the states that were counted by the Secretary of State at the time, who was Philander Knox, that he certified the ratification of the amendment without any kind of discussion, without any kind of debate, and that he decided that state legislatures that certain state legislatures could not rescind ratification and so forth. And there were a few states that there were some legitimate questions about the ratification process. And as a result of his work, he put together this book, The Law That Never Was, that actually says that the 16th Amendment was not properly ratified and should therefore be invalid. There was a lawsuit brought against him, and there was actually an injunction put in place in a federal district court that he was not allowed to do certain things and put certain information out to the public because of people were not paying their taxes based upon his information. And I don't know that this is something that has ever been looked at seriously by the courts.
Probably not.
For whatever reason, the state legislatures and the judiciary and so forth don't seem to want to tackle this issue or take a look at the certified documents that is presented in this.
Now, why would they not want to do that?
Well, probably because they would lose a whole lot of income and they'd have to shrink their government back down.
But wouldn't that be their job? I mean, let's be honest. If their job is to uphold the Constitution, they should be sure that what's going in it or what is in it,
that it should have been ratified in a constitutionally legal way.
Right.
Correct?
I couldn't agree more.
I would think. And
The good part is they could send it to the Supreme Court, who would straighten that right out.
well, yeah, absolutely. Wait.
What?
If the 16th Amendment was looked at and deemed to be improperly ratified, therefore it's not ratified, therefore it's invalid, and the health care law was upheld based upon the tax,
That would mean that it would be completely invalid.
well, I don't know. They just said that Congress had the right to tax. I think they said it as an income tax. Completely different argument. Anyways, I thought it was
Why would you
interesting.
get me all excited like that?
And it's something that I think should be looked into further. If it was properly ratified, hey, if our law, we're good. What's the harm in looking at that? If it was not properly ratified, and people take a look at this, and it's not valid, I can see where it's a ton of problems. However, if it's such a good idea and it was not properly ratified, hey, how about we ratify it now?
Well, like everything else, if there's a question, there's a legitimate question, there's documentation, there has to be, I'm sure this guy just didn't go all wingnut and start throwing out false statements. And all
You
that
can
stuff.
say it willy-nilly.
All willy-nilly. Then it is the burden of the government to investigate it wholly.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
I do. And
Considering it affects
there's
every single American that pays taxes in this country.
yeah, so about 10%.
Now, my question would be,
That was a joke.
really? Because I honestly thought you had that number right in front of you. I wasn't even going to argue it. I was like, oh, good for you. That number ready.
Hey, it's official. 1% of Americans pay taxes.
Now, let's say it's found to be non-constitutional.
It wouldn't be. They're not even going to look at it.
But let's say it was.
You mean not properly ratified?
Not appropriately ratified.
Okay.
Would I get money back?
That would be a valid question.
With interest? The same interest the IRS charges when you're late with payments for them?
Probably not interest, but could you imagine how that in and of itself could bankrupt the country?
Oh, it would.
Could you think about that?
It would turn inside out completely. Turn us inside out.
Hey, progressives, I might have just helped you completely collapse the United States economy.
Do you have Frances Fox Pittman on speed dial? Because it sounds like something that would come out of her mouth.
No, I don't. But what I don't want obviously the collapse of the country. But what I think is reasonable is if there is a legitimate question about the ratification process of the 16th Amendment and therefore the legitimacy of the income tax amendment, why not look at it and straighten it out? If it was legitimate and all of the records from the states that ratified showed that it was done properly and it stands, what's the harm in that? It's affirmed. However, what if the documentary evidence does in fact show that it was not properly ratified and is therefore invalid? Would we not want to correct that issue?
Well, yeah, because now people would be being taxed unjustly.
Would we not want to correct that, though? If it's such a good idea, why not send it to the Constitutional Convention now and re-ratify it?
Well, because once again, that wouldn't fit their agenda, so why would they do that?
Yeah, why would we want to do things the right way? Hey, if it's legitimate, it's legitimate. What is...
Hey, well...
Go for it.
Do you know what the current debt is right now?
13.3 trillion.
15.8 trillion.
That's what I said, not even close.
Per citizen, that breaks down into $50,581.
Now, is that per citizen or per tax-paying
per
citizen?
tax-paying citizen,
Okay.
it's almost three times. It's $139,343.
Now, let me ask you a question. If I wrote a check for $133,000 and whatever, and I sent that to the government, and I said, hey, I am paying my portion of the national debt. Do you think that they would say, hey, thanks, you don't have to pay taxes anymore because you paid your fair share?
I think you'd be fine. I think you would absolutely be fine.
I so wish I was in a financial position to test that theory. Unfortunately, that's more
I'd pay
money
like
than I make in a year.
Over,
huh?
So I could turn around and say I paid more than I had to.
Would you?
I'm like that. Yeah.
If I had the money, I would pay $2, and I would say, that's for me, and that's so you leave me alone, even for somebody else.
It's almost like paying it forward in Starbucks. You've been in like a long drive-through line where they're like, oh, the guy in front of you paid, so you pay for the guy behind you because it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, but with my luck, the guy behind me ordered like five of the most expensive things, plus like 18 scones because he's going to an office party.
He called ahead and told him what car he was going to be in. They're like, "Oh, you're going to pay for the guy behind you? $462. He's going to a meeting." Oh, then you already said you're going to pay, so now you're criminally liable if you try to leave. Rooster wants to know why you just wouldn't print your own money instead of writing them a check.
Because I don't work for the government, Rooster.
But what if you did yours based on the amount of gold that you had in the bank? If you made your own currency, you'd be more legitimate than the government than our dollar is right now.
It would be, but why not just pay him in either gold or silver then?
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, you got nothing.
I had nothing. You completely spun me on that.
I did, because I don't think we can legally print our own. But that would be, you know what? We should do sackhead currency and have it backed by U.S. No, that'd be a bad idea.
U.S.? No. It's going to be worth something.
Let's have it backed by.
How about all the
awesomeness?
Let's back it by all the oil reserves in North Dakota right now that we're not getting a break on.
We can't base that because that's not ours to base our currency on.
But what if the person who owned all that did?
Ooh.
They said, hey, you know what? We're going to start using currency based on the amount of oil we project we have. Which, by the way, I'll get into that in a second. And we're going to print our own money that's going to be legal tender, and it'll be based on the amount of wealth that we believe we have.
Since we're talking about this, what do you think would happen if businesses and citizens started trading not in U.S. dollars anymore, but in actual gold or silver?
Oh, the government would freak out because they'd be totally out of the loop. They wouldn't even know how to address it. They would just keep saying you couldn't do it. That's all they could say, because it would take them so long to catch up to the curve that their head would spin, because they know in their mind they'd be losing money, and also you and I would actually be getting more for our quote-unquote dollar or whatever the sackhead. I think that's what we should call it.
Think about it, the sackhead. Think about it. Nothing is backing the United States currency
at all.
It's an idea.
Theory. It's a theory.
You
either believe
That's
in
it
or you don't.
Yeah, and if a lot of people stop believing in it, it ultimately goes away. It collapses. It's kind of like the happy thought to fly in Peter Pan, right? You need a happy thought in order to be able to spend money.
You just made me choke on my Snickers.
So let's say the happy thought goes away and we all fall to the ground. There is nothing backing U.S. currency, and I know that there are some states and organizations who actually began buying gold in order to have in case the dollar collapses.
Which it's not far.
And I don't think that we are necessarily too far off from a point where we are trading in gold or silver or hard commodities or ammunition or whatever it is.
Necklaces, who cares?
Because people have lost faith in the dollar. The fact that the dollar is an idea scares me.
Well, and I know I actually talked to one of our listeners and a friend of ours, Woody, about this, and he said, you know what we should do? Make pots and pans currency. Because good luck going to the bank and trying to deposit like 25 big pots and pans. Just be like, have everyone say that now we believe pots and pans are what's actually worth something. The dollar, it's the same thing with the dollar, right? You're doing the exact same thing. You're believing that it's worth something, so why not use pots and pans?
Here's why. Because pots and pans are not fun. Let's trade in Legos. Because Legos are awesome.
That's not fair, because people with kids would have a tremendous advantage.
Yes. If you had a pocket full of Legos, I mean, you could like bust them out at a restaurant and like build things, right? You could set the little Lego guy up on your dashboard while you're driving to the bank. You can have conversations with him.
I would like
Not that I do that.
I would like to pay this in a helicopter made out of Legos.
Yes.
And a fire truck made out of Legos. And
we don't accept fire trucks.
In return, I expect to get 2 little Star Wars guys and Indiana Jones for change.
I like it. I don't say you can have a whole system. Hey, you know, and like the older Legos are worth more. So
well, naturally, because there's less of them.
Exactly, right?
So like gold and silver, the less there is, the more it's worth. Weird. Oh man, that's so.
I think we have a new. I think we have a new idea.
I think we're onto it. Rooster, can we get something like that going in the forums? You think? So
you know what? That's a good idea. We should have people. What else could we trade in other than gold or silver or anything that makes sense? What else? Yeah. What else could we put?
We'll put that up in the forum this week. What else do you think we could use as currency that people would believe in and would actually be worth value? Does that work?
That works.
Is that what you're asking for?
That's what I'm asking for.
Consider it done.
Pizza.
Anything else I can fix tonight? Damn it.
Why not just elect us? Seriously, elect me.
Hey, I've said it before. Sackhead Clint 2017.
That's not even an election year. We're going for it.
We'll get you in for it. Trust me. There may not even be an election in 2016. Who knows?
So that's my. We digress again. We do all the time. That's my spiel on the 16th Amendment. I think there should be a look at the legitimacy of it. And on another issue of taxation, I'm a fan of the flat tax.
Big fan of the flat tax. I have no problem with that. The 999 was a good one too.
Is that like on the slot machine?
No, it was the Herman Cain. You're thinking of 777.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Which, by the way,
so confused.
No big deal. I hit this weekend. So
you actually did. I saw the picture. It wouldn't come up, so he hit the machine.
No,
it was kind of
really
it was
hard.
the 777 machine. So
I actually won $8 and demanded I get paid in one of those oversized checks. Hey,
you won $8, but because of inflation, you wanted them to write it for $10,000.
I said, I don't believe in the money anyhow, so what difference does it make? Here, I'll take all this. Rooster wants to know, if you become president, can he be attorney general?
Ooh. Now, Rooster, do you want attorney general or do you want secretary of state? Because I would love to send you overseas to talk to some of these other world leaders. Sean already is my press guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I only want to do a little work. I don't like to fly, so I don't need to be going overseas. I don't really like people, so I'd rather have a room of people I already hate that I can just yell at.
Right. Media.
Even though right now we are technically media.
By the way,
yes.
Congratulations on your media pass.
Thank you very much. It's kind of a big deal. I can't wait to start using it. It's up. If anyone wants to see it, it should be streaming on the show right now and on our website. By the way, you got one too.
Oh yeah, thank you.
No. I
you try to take all the credit.
What?
You do this.
I'm not taking.
You always do
Why
this.
am I taking credit? What am I taking credit for?
You always do this. You never listen to me.
I listen to you all the time. You never shut up.
You take me for granted.
I do.
You never take me out to dinner anymore.
I take you for marble. I do for a lot of things.
You don't bring me flowers.
That's not true.
This is.
No,
you don't. You don't bring me flowers anymore, Sean. You don't.
He has the control.
You don't write me letters. You don't send me little cute text messages. I feel like since this show's kind of taken off a little bit, that you just kind of push it on.
Hey, Rooster wants to know if he can go to Iran. He says he'll take the Secretary of State. Finally get out of the bottom of something that bothers the hell out of him. So, well, I can only imagine. How about this? Let's set up for a break, so when we come back we can talk. Let's talk Syria, and then we'll talk our idea that we have.
I've been talking serious all night.
Syria.
Oh, sorry.
Syria.
Seriously.
Rooster says
taken for granted all the time. I'm tired of being taken for granted. I'm not going to handle this.
So when we come back, how
I'm
about this? We can come back. Rooster can call in. He literally just knocks stuff off the wall, slamming the door. Rooster can call in when we come back from our break. We can talk about what he wants to do as Secretary of State. We can talk about one of his blogs. And then after that, we'll take a few minutes on that.
Hey, why don't we take a break so we can come
out
outside
right
and talk
now.
about this? Because this is ridiculous.
This is Sackheads Radio. We'll be back. This is out of control. We'll be back in a moment.
Sackheads Radio.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net. Hey guys, do you like our news briefs? Better yet, do you like the amazing voice that does our news briefs? Do you need some audio work done? Check out PlatinumVocalCords.com. Our friend Vanessa has years of broadcast experience. She's an absolute professional. She'll work with you, get the sound exactly how you'd want it. So go to PlatinumVocalCords.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Do you have some breaking news you want the Sackheads Radio Show to cover? Call us at 1-877-308-1866 and be a news hound like this gal.
Hey, so I heard that, what did I hear? Yeah, I forgot. Dang it. I hate when I do that. All right, go Sackheads Radio.
That's right. With information like that, it's got to make it on the air. So give us a call at 1-877-308-1866 and be a news hound.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
All right, so we've assembled some sort of control.
I had to apologize to you.
Oh, God. About what?
I'm sorry. Sometimes I just get so wrapped up in what's going on that
I need to give more. I understand that. I need to give more as a co-host and a friend, and I understand
you do.
that.
Okay, enough about that. Hey, so we had a discussion earlier today, and I think it's a great idea, and I need to touch on it. I know you made a note earlier. I think that you and I should invite. Formal invitation, folks. This is a formal invitation going out to Joe Biden,
Vice President Biden,
and Chris Christie
to sit down
with us on the air, drink beer.
I think that would be amazing.
And discuss and debate the issues.
Because you have two guys, and as much as I dislike Joe Biden's policies,
two cantankerous,
oh my God,
old school, foul-mouthed, angry men.
And then you throw them in a room with us.
Dude, how awesome would that be? And on the air.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, I'm not talking to get them hammered, but a couple beers. We'll have pizza. And just listen to those two guys go back and forth, and we will totally spark the debate.
Turn on some Skinnerd. And just go crazy.
I think that would be the best show ever.
I agree with you.
So I think we need to reach out to both. There's no way they would ever come on this show.
We would have to have a talking stick.
We would have a talking stick.
Everybody would. So only one person could talk at a time.
No. That you and I would have a talking stick, but I think we should just let them go at it.
We would also need bouncers.
We totally would. So, hey, we have a call.
Well, Governor Christie, Vice President Biden, the invitation's open. Anytime you want, you can email Sean at sackheadsradio.com or Clint at sackheadsradio.com.
Don't email me because I don't know how to check it.
Or you could call the show at 347-205-9399, just like this person is. Hey, you're on the air with Sackheads Radio.
Welcome.
Well,
is this the
Leonard
Secretary
Skinner
of
is a great segue into what I want to talk about tonight, guys.
Mr.
The NAACP.
Mr. Future Secretary of State.
Now, before we go into it, let's talk about what you want to get to the bottom of if you were the Secretary of State, and then we'll get into the NAACP.
Oh, why France has a veto?
Yes. Why shouldn't they have a veto? Come on.
Why should they? Who the hell are they?
Because today is Bastille Day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. Weren't you...
There are
Hey, while we're at it, why does Russia have a veto still?
Because they hate us.
Because they like to shoot down
our
force.
Why France had a veto.
Yeah, but they went away a long time ago. Reagan got rid of them.
Yeah, but they
should have lost their veto then.
Are you kidding me? You heard of the hot mic with Obama? I mean, they still hate us, and they know it, and they know they have him where he is.
While we're at it, why do we have a veto?
Well, hang on a second. Let's get back to
Russia.
If they don't,
almost all of the UN.
If Russia doesn't have a veto, then how are we supposed to use the letter K to spell everything that's supposed to have a C? We need them.
You know, Rooster, I knew.
No, we don't need that. Why do we have a veto? Let's go away. We'll leave, and they can run the world, but they got to get out of New York.
I just want to kick them the hell out. I mean,
And before they leave, pay their parking tickets.
All of them.
All of
them. Millions of dollars. And hey, like I said before, I will absolutely buy the 1 or 2 U-Hauls it should take to get them out of New York. I'm like that. I'm a giver.
I think we should split the bill to move them all out. We would still save money in the long run.
Oh, are you kidding me? In a year, I bet. So, hey, Rooster, you said Skinner was a good segue into what you wanted to talk about. Why don't you tell us what that is?
Well, I'm supposed to have a gripe tonight, and my gripe is with the black people.
Oh.
No. No. We're not going to go where you think we're going.
Okay.
Right? Because everybody knows me. I'm not a racist. But
but when you
here's what I want to know.
I get nervous.
No. Here's what I want to know. What are we supposed to do? So Mitt Romney gets in trouble because he didn't speak to the black people the way they wanted to be spoken to.
No, that's not true. He didn't speak to them in a way that certain pundits said they didn't want to get spoken to.
Including the head of the NAACP.
Including the head of the NAACP, who at the end of the day is just a political pundit.
But you've got the same people going on a different station saying, we don't want any free shit, we just want to be treated just like everybody else, which is what Mitt Romney did.
And you
Mitt
and I
Romney
both
went down there and gave them the same speech that he gives everybody.
Right, and you and I'm sure Clint agrees. Like you said in your last blog, and I forget who the website was that you quoted, but nobody. It doesn't matter your race or whatever. We all want the same things in life. We all want to be left alone, have our freedoms, and so he went and spoke to them as he went and spoke to everybody else. He didn't treat them any differently at the NAACP convention,
no, he didn't.
So how is that wrong?
That's the irony of the progressive left, is that they espouse all this crap about equality, and it's not crap. I believe in true equality, but they espouse it, equality, yet they want to be treated differently. And when they get treated the same, like Mitt Romney did, he talks to them just like he talks to every other group he addresses. When they are treated equally, when they are treated the same, which is how the right tends to treat people, they get all irritated and upset and angry.
Well,
and I don't have beef with obviously black people in general, but with the specific individuals in
African
this group
Americans
that are talking. See, now you're going to get me going on something different. How many of them came from
That's
Africa?
what I'm trying to do.
They're not. They're American. Everybody should be American. If you were born in Africa and you became a citizen here, all right.
Okay, well here's my message to everybody, and I want the NAACP to listen. I want all black people in the chat room. I think we got 3 people in there to listen. It's a good.
That's not true. We're up to like 7.
Okay, well, it's a good goddamn thing Joe Biden showed up to speak the next day, because we wouldn't want the blacks to get the wrong impressions about the whites or the black man who sent Biden in his stead.
I know, and it's such the double standard that we get caught in.
No, it pisses me off. It's not a double standard. They're doing it to piss me off.
You intentionally?
Me, yes, me.
No, I totally understand your point, and I completely agree that it's not the masses, and that's the thing that people forget. So 2 or 3 figureheads that are up front that when
if you listen to Joe Biden speak, he must have been a poor black child coming up in Delaware.
I think he grew up in Pennsylvania, didn't he?
Yeah, Scranton, I know.
Yeah,
it was Scranton. He was born in Scranton, then they moved to Delaware.
Scranton has a pretty liberal, and they've always been a fairly liberal area. And now they've paid all of their city employees minimum wage to stop to close their budget gap.
My entire family's from Scranton and from Binghamton and from Susquehanna. It's not that liberal up there.
Well, somebody is, because they keep producing it. Because I know their mayor is too, and they just did all that budget cutting. But no, Rooster, I totally get your point. Anyone wants to read his blog, and it kind of straightens it out a little bit more, go to conservativeoutcry.net, which our forums are in too, and we can't thank you enough for throwing our forums up on that.
You like the way the new site looks too?
I think it looks great. You did a total site revamp. The site looks great. The forums are amazing.
That was in the works for some time, but I was real happy to put the forums up. So hopefully we'll get pictures of girls with great big giant nasty old eyes.
Negative. Come on now. We're using this for
with the sign that says I like sackheads.
Well, I guess as long as they have the sign
with a K.
We'll deal with it.
With the K.
2 Ks. SAKK.
That's right.
Hey, Rooster, man, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Go check out conservativeoutcry.net. Thanks, Rooster.
Thanks, Rooster.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
You know, he never said what he would do as Secretary of State.
Oh, come on.
Are you kidding me?
Rooster,
now,
I'm sorry.
I want to make something very clear, and it's like Sean said, and like I know Rooster was alluding to. It's we have specific individuals create this race gap, this race baiting, this race issue, and it's completely asinine to me, because everybody should be treated the same. You shouldn't get special privileges or treatment because you're X, because 8 generations ago, whatever it is, somebody enslaved somebody. Hey, guess what? Europeans were enslaved also.
We have to live in the now.
We have to live in the now. And America was a nation that corrected those ills. They corrected the ills of slavery. And even the founding fathers were having this debate. I know it's something you progressives don't want to hear. Founding fathers were having this debate, and the Constitution was framed the way it was, or the way it is, in order to reduce the effectiveness of slavery and in order to provide for the abolition of slavery down the line. They couldn't do it when they did outright because the states would never have ratified it, and they needed a strong union. But it was one of their goals they had in mind, which is why you had the 3/5 clause in there and why you had a drop-dead date for slavery, importation of slaves, and so forth. So we all are one people. We are Americans. We welcome those who immigrate legally here to this country, and uh-oh.
The best part is you saw the number pop up.
That's so awesome.
Uh-oh. All right.
Hang on, my turn to piss you off, Rooster. So, so this
back to tell us what he's going to do as Secretary.
Okay, perfect.
You asked for it.
So this whole race baiting and division, and well, we want to be treated equal, but you didn't talk to us the way you should talk to our people. Anyways, let's get to our call.
But I'll give you the prime example.
Which prime example? The one we just talked about with Romney?
Kidding me? Really? The average person, it doesn't matter what race they are. They want to have freedoms. They want to be left alone. They want to be able to make as much money as they can without being persecuted for it.
See, in today's America, I think there is too many people that want to take what you're making because they don't have what you have, and therefore
I
they
totally agree with you.
Yeah, what are we at? 50% roughly?
But if you look at that, and if you want to talk about, let's say, the Occupy movement, that's a prime example of people that want to take stuff out theirs. It's all 80% of them are spoiled little rich kids.
You just pulled that number out of your hat.
Yeah, I totally made it up.
Okay. Let's go with it.
A majority of them, how's that? Are spoiled little rich kids that mommy and daddy cut off. And now they're like, well, that's not fair. I can't play Xbox, blah, blah, blah. I don't have this, I don't have that. But they all have cell phones. They all have brand new Nikes. You watch some of the rioting that goes on, and they're breaking. My favorite was a video of one of the protests where they, and I think it was May Day in Seattle, they broke into the Nike store to destroy the, what's the word I'm looking for? The corporate.
Evil
IRS.
corporate.
And,
yeah.
Two of the kids were wearing brand new Nikes.
Well, that's because they stole them.
No, it was before they broke the window.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
So it's the hypocrisy of that all. All right, I'm bringing Rooster back on to talk about what he would do as Secretary of State. God help us, here goes the Rooster. Rooster.
That's why we put him in that position. Go for it.
Gentlemen, I scared you earlier. You didn't like where I went.
No, we were going to move on to Syria. We know where you went. It's if anyone reads your blog, you know very well what you're saying.
Nobody reads my blog. I have to send it to people.
You and I both know that's not true.
I sent it to Nancy Pelosi, but she hasn't gotten back to me.
Well, no,
That's odd.
Her press secretary said that she's in the works and she's got a few things going on. Same thing she said with our interview request.
Well, next time send it with the picture that's on my blog post of her being batshit crazy.
You know what? I think
That's
the reason
picture she's ever taken.
I think the reason she doesn't want to come on our show is because we call her Pistol Grip.
It's my favorite nickname for her, Pistol Grip Pelosi. Rooster, if you were Secretary of State for President Clinton, what would be your first course of action?
For President Clinton?
Yes.
My first course of action would be to invite the leader of Iran over here for a talk.
Just a little sit-down chat?
Define talk.
Mm-hmm. Ahmadinejad or whatever his name is. And when he gets here, I'm sending him to Guantanamo Bay. Just like all the other little terrorists.
Well, there's a big rift right there right now because the Ayatollah said in the effect not too long ago that he would not necessarily support Ahmadinejad during the next election, which is funny because I figured he already owned it. Why would they have one?
Well,
because Ayatollah doesn't want
I do the same thing to the Ayatollah too, but in Syria, what's going to happen over there is aren't they breaking out their chemical weapons?
Well, they've moved them, and they're unaccounted for it this time, so they don't know if they're preparing to break them out or if they're...
So either they've been taken by the generals that have gone over to the other side, or
Unlike
Assad, or whatever the hell his name is, has taken them himself and getting them ready for use. One of the two has happened.
Maybe, or that there is the possibility, not likely, but there is a possibility that he has taken them and hidden them so that they don't fall into the opposition's hands and that he's not going to use them.
And aren't these the same chemical weapons that used to be in Iraq?
Well,
no, because there were no weapons there.
There were no weapons there after all those trucks went over the border.
That means there was no weapons there.
Yeah, that means there was no
They
weapons
had been
there
previously, but were moved so they weren't there. And if you've ever read, if you are a one of those people who says that it was all lies and everything, read Saddam Hussein's debrief by the CIA. He spells everything out in it, and it was his own words. He intentionally misled the international community to believe that he had much more than he actually had, because he was petrified that if he fell, Iran would invade and start killing his own people. So he intentionally misled the international community because he knew that if the Iranians viewed him as weak, they would attack him.
I don't know about that, because Iran's got a fairly decent army, but at the time Saddam Hussein had the fourth largest army in the world, or the third largest army in the world.
Yeah, but their technology was lacking compared to the Iranians. You got to remember the Iranians had a lot of our equipment at that time that was still fairly serviceable. That was all there.
Kind of old. And they fought a war with Iraq for years, and Iraq held them to a stalemate pretty much.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. And now we get into the whole Syria, Turkey, Russia. For a lot of people that don't know, Russia's got a naval task force that's in Turkey right now.
It needs to leave.
It does need to leave. There's also the whole thing with the F-4 that's shot down now. Turkey sending their prime minister to meet with Putin in Moscow to discuss whether or not it was shot down by the Syrians, or now there's allegations possibly that it may have been a Russian direct weapon. It may not have been a Russian-made Syrian weapon. It may have been Russian weapons themselves. But the United States diplomatic, and let me read this real quick, official claiming quote unquote, we know the details about the shoot down, but we will not share the details with Turkey. That's a little suspicious.
Of course not, because they don't want Turkey to invoke Article 4 of NATO and have a huge
issue.
International incident or potential global war.
U.S. officials don't deny that the aircraft was shot down. But some people think that the Russian action is being hidden, that they were directly involved, but it's now being squashed because they know that the Obama administration is considered weak by the Russians, hence that hot mic incident where he said he'd have more flexibility after November. And in an election season, he doesn't want to go head-to-head with somebody who considers him weak. So there's that whole aspect of it. And now we get into invoking Article 4 of NATO. And at what point are they going to invoke it? They are part of NATO. They have the right to do that.
Didn't they
and
leave
if
us
they do, Obama will find a way not to do it.
Well, didn't Turkey leave us hanging with some action, if I'm not mistaken?
Turkey left us hanging more than once.
The world's most unpopular war that everybody in Congress voted for?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that one.
Wait, they didn't vote for that. Oh, wait, yeah, they did.
Yeah, no, they did. I think it was like 98% of Congress voted for it.
Oh, yeah, but didn't they say they... Yeah, no, never mind.
Yeah, no, if you ask them now, they didn't. And if anyone doesn't know, the F-4 Phantom that was shot down in the middle of June, there's still 2 Turkish airmen missing. It allegedly was flying at a high rate of speed, crossed into Syria's airspace slightly. They said it was not an uncommon issue. They'd never had a problem before. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. I think they will fly in NATO reconnaissance to try to get some looks inside Syria.
Now, what do you base that on anything that you've read, or is that an assumption?
No, that's totally an assumption on my behalf.
Okay.
But that's what I believe was going on, and they were using a regular flight path that they use on a regular basis, and I think they'd gotten away with it so much that they didn't expect to get a surface-to-air missile, and it was Syria has some newer Russian anti-air defense missiles. They have the S-200 system, and I think there's another one out there too. But
now let me play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
If a foreign country overflew a portion of the United States in a warplane, would we not shoot them down?
Well, it wouldn't get near the United States.
Exactly, but if it did, I assume that we would.
No, it would be shot down before it got here.
No, absolutely. So, and don't take me wrong. I'm gonna get called hippie and everything else again. So, Syria shot down a warplane that was in its airspace. Just because they hadn't done it before, just because you didn't get caught speeding before or whatever it is, doesn't mean that you're not going to pay for it at one time or another. And I'm not promoting the shoot down of the Turkish jet at all. I think it's a huge problem. But we would shoot down a warplane that was crossing our airspace, and Syria crossed a warplane that was in its airspace at a time when tensions were already elevated, and just because it had been done before, you have different tensions, different times. I don't know. What do you think?
Rooster, I'll let you go, and then I'll say my piece.
I think it was a warplane over Syria's airspace, but who really cares?
Well, do you think Syria has a right to defend their airspace?
I'll tell you why I'm here, because I'm afraid of where this could possibly go.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen is Mitt Romney's going to get elected in office, and the same thing's going to happen when he gets elected that happened when Reagan got elected. All of a sudden, Syria and Russia and Turkey and Pakistan, they're going to be our best friends.
Because they know we'll kick their ass at that point.
Well, let's say
that's right. And as Clint's Secretary of State, I would stand up in the United Nations and give a speech, and I would name China, Russia, Turkey, Pakistan, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and I would tell them to just remember that we've got planes that you can't even see. And until you can see them, keep that in the back of your heads. And then I just sit down in my seat. The only problem with giving that speech is you have to have somebody in the office that has some balls. And right now we don't, because they're in Michelle's pocketbook.
Well, my problem is at what point do they realize that the election's coming? And Syria, Iran, all those countries right now, they know right now if they pop off before November, then if Iran tries to hit Israel, if Turkey tries to hit Syria, vice versa, they know if they do it sooner rather than later, they're dealing with Obama for the American response. They'll deal with NATO to a certain point, but we carry the big stick with NATO. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's Britain and a couple other ones. So would it be for them sooner rather than later?
No, because, in the grand scheme of things, you're talking, 6-7 months? That's not a long time. They've waited too long, and they know what's going to happen. I mean, we're still on course, and conservative Al-Qaeda predicted it. I'm standing by my prediction: a landslide victory by Mitt Romney.
Well, and that's the case, but I think a lot of these countries already have a standing military plan. It's not hard to enact it once they get going. And I think Turkey's telling a little bit of a tale of what they're afraid of, because they have all their troops lined up on the Syrian border right now.
Okay, well, let them go at it. We have a military plan too.
I totally agree. Let them go at it, but the problem is, like everything else, if they invoke Article 4 of NATO, we're part of NATO.
Okay, then we go in with the planes that people can't see, and show them what the planes that people can't see can do. I'm not going to send troops over there to get them killed. Send the invisible planes. Wonder Woman.
What do you think?
I don't think we should be involved in this conflict.
I agree.
I really don't. I think it's a no-win for the United States.
But it's always a no-win when we get involved in a conflict. It's always a no-win.
Yeah, but until the United States starts
like
pumping its own gas, we have to be there.
And that brings up another interesting point, obviously, about energy independence. But I don't know. I don't think we should. I would stay out of this one. This one has too much potential to blow up into
World War III.
A world war.
But
it really does.
Well, you can't get out of it because you're already in it.
Yeah, but we're not.
We're not as of right now.
We're not as of right now. And even if Turkey tries to enact Article 4, I mean they've left us hanging a lot. But besides that, I think that would turn this into a global conflict, and I just
it would go.
But you can't have a country tell you that we're going to turn off your gas pumps, because that's basically what Iran's told us. And if Iran goes and does that, we have to undo it.
Well, but that also brings up, you want to talk about energy independence. We had the oil reserve in North Dakota they're looking at right now is said to be possibly one of the biggest in the world. We also have the ones in Alaska. And this segues me into one of my favorite topics, which is OPEC. And those pain-in-the-ass bastards over there, which, surprisingly, gas prices being so high right now, which kills me because we use far less energy now than we did 10 years ago. But the closer we get to November, what are the gas prices doing all of a sudden?
Dropping.
OPEC would be the organization that's run by the people that'll kill a woman for adultery, but all the husbands are watching porn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
We've kowtowed to them on a regular basis.
We do. We have the reserves here in our own country to be independent. We do, and not only to be independent, but to export. We have the reserves in the Gulf, but hey, we've outsourced those jobs and sent rigs to Mexico and have given other nations money to drill in the Gulf where we should be drilling, and I mean that's a huge other issue.
Well,
but as far as the Syria goes, I completely disagree of us being involved. And the other thing I think I don't know how much is being discussed. I haven't seen very much on this point. But does a nation have a right to defend itself when an enemy or another nation's war aircraft, ship, whatever, crosses into its borders and potentially poses a threat? I think it does. We do. So why can we say that it's okay for us to do it and another country can't, just because we're the United States? And because of that, I think that, not just because of that, but I think that's a strong case for us to stay out of it. Turkey flew a warplane over another sovereign nation's airspace.
Hey, Rooster, just so you know, we get a lot of feedback. I got to cut the line. I can barely hear anything on your end right now. So
that's cool. I'm going to bed, guys.
All right.
Hey, thanks,
have a good
Rooster.
night.
I
Thanks
appreciate
for calling
it.
as always, Rooster.
All right, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir.
No, I agree with you. It shouldn't be our problem, and I hope
It's
that
not our problem.
It's not our problem, but is it going to be made to be our problem? Are we going to make it our problem? Is our government going to try to make it our problem? Is this going to be him trying to show that he has a set just before the election that, hey, I can stand up to a big challenge. I can stand up to a Russian-backed country.
You know what? I give him credit when he green-lighted the operation against Osama bin Laden.
Well, I give him credit for doing it. It is. I hate, and this is where some people are getting mad at me, and I really don't care. I give him credit for making the right decision, but it was hard to not make the right decision. Based on, and I wasn't there, I wasn't in the room, I don't know all the intelligence. But based on what I've read and what I've seen, they were pretty much 99.9% that was him, he was there, and they were going to get him.
You know what? President Clinton had an opportunity to get him, and he passed on it, and
right.
He didn't. This
he didn't
president,
know about, right.
President Obama made the call. He had the intel. He made the call. The op went off. They got him. I'm going to give credit where credit's due, and he absolutely made the right call in that case. I'm very thankful to the president for making that call, and I'll give him the credit he deserves. In this case with Syria, I hope he doesn't get involved. I think that the risk. Look at where we are right now as far as blood and treasure that's been expended in the Gulf region.
Oh,
as far as Iraq, Afghanistan. Now you're going to contemplate going into a conflict where you have Syria and Russia, and now hey, NATO gets invoked. So what you got? Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Italy, Norway, Portugal, France, Greece. Although they don't have anything, so I'm pretty sure they had to sell off their military. Germany, Spain. I mean, you have how many countries? Spain, and then I don't know how many members of the former Warsaw Pact came over after the collapse of the Soviet Union, but I think we have some of those nations that are now part of NATO as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no,
so
Latvia and a couple other ones.
Okay, so now you have these countries that were part of the former Soviet Union that now you have Russia and China, perhaps North Korea get involved. I mean,
it'll go global fast.
Absolutely, and that's why I think we need.
And I agree that we need to stay out. I just hope that with the numbers being what they are, that he doesn't try to be a political strongman right now and say, hey, I know it's Syria. I know they're really tight with Russia. Everyone views me as weak on Russia, which we've said before, the whole hot incident. I'm going to take this as my chance to stand up to the Russians. And I hope it doesn't backfire. I hope we don't get into a conflict that we don't belong in.
I got an idea.
I'm ready for your
idea. Because it'd be really expensive. What about if we gave him the option to keep health care or to get involved in this conflict if that's what he wants to do?
Okay, let him flip the coin or choose however he wants.
Yeah, no, I vote no on both.
Rooster says the world was a much better place when the U.S. was known as a bully. It's true. When we had certain people, and it started officially with Carter and the botched Iranian hostages.
I think the world was a better place when the world knew that the United States wasn't going to take any crap.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And we have the ability to maintain ourselves and take care of ourselves and our close friends and allies. We talked about that before. I have no problem with our true close friends and allies, not our pseudo friends or our fake friends who just because we buy oil from them.
And that we pump money into. Fine, you don't want to sell us oil? Guess what? We're cutting off all foreign aid. Congratulations. Hey, good job. You just pissed us off, so now you're not getting any money.
Yeah, but then, the UN would come after us because I'm sure there'd be a human rights violation.
Oh, wait, that is... Okay, then we cut off funding to them, too. How are they going to come after us with no funding?
I think the UN, all their funding.
I got an idea. We keep all of our money. You guys handle your own crap. If you screw with any of our citizens or any of our interests that are going to hurt our people, then we're going to come after you.
Or our friends. There are a few allies.
If they need help, Israel.
There are a few allies. Israel.
Great Britain.
England, Canada. There's a few allies that I say, hey, yeah.
Canada? They have
nobody has
that health care. Exactly. Can you really? Do you trust the person that nobody has a beef with? I mean, really?
Well,
because they're kind of like a chameleon. They fit in with kind of whoever.
It's one of two things. They either have a lot of really dark, dirty crap going on,
right?
Or they are truly like the world's nicest people.
That's a good point. I don't know which one it is. I'm going to go with nicest people because I like to see the good.
Yeah, I've known a bunch of Canadians and all really nice people.
Really?
Yeah, I've never met I've personally never met a Canadian where I'm like, wow, that guy was a jerk, eh? But yeah, no, there's a few allies we'd have to take care of. I hope we stay out of it. And, Rooster brings up a good point, too, in the chat room, is that Israel doesn't need defending.
Because they're badasses.
They are total badasses. My problem is if everyone starts turning sights on Israel in the Middle East that hates them, it may get ugly for them. And they've suffered enough. After World War II, we put them in a place where everybody wants to kill them, and they've been dealing with it ever since.
I agree. On that topic, let's take a break.
And,
we'll be back in a couple minutes, folks.
See ya. I play the rant music, really? No, really, we're going to break.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sack Kids Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sack Kids Radio sent you.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net. Hey guys, do you like our news briefs? Better yet, do you like the amazing voice that does our news briefs? Do you need some audio work done? Check out PlatinumVocalCords.com. Our friend Vanessa has years of broadcast experience. She's an absolute professional. She'll work with you, get the sound exactly how you'd want it. So go to PlatinumVocalCords.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Do you have some breaking news you want the Sackheads Radio Show to cover? Call us at 1-877-308-1866 and be a news hound like this gal.
Hey, so I heard that, what did I hear? Yeah, I forgot. Dang it. I hate when I do that. All right, go Sackheads Radio.
That's right. With information like that, it's got to make it on the air. So give us a call at 1-877-308-1866 and be a news hound.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Oh, this has just been an engineering disaster.
Oh my
tonight.
God!
Thank you for everyone who's sticking with us.
So I want to ask you a question.
Hold on, I just wrote the phone number. It's 347-205-9399. The phone lines are open. If you can weasel your way into an open one, that'd be great.
I want to wait. What number is that? Yeah, we're not taking that caller either.
Is that your mom?
No.
Oh, all right.
So you don't remember that number?
I might. I
okay.
might not.
Yeah. We're not talking about that person. So I want to talk a couple things. First of all, I think Mitt Romney is going to be hit on the healthcare issue. I know he's taking a lot of heat for Bain Capital and some other things right now, and
which even CNN is turning around saying that they're quote unquote swift voting him like the Republicans did to Kerry.
Yeah.
And they're turning around and saying even CNN, who is like
the
Obama's
Communist News Network, is that?
Yeah.
I don't know what it stands for. Okay.
It's Obama's, that and MSNBC are like his free publicity every day.
Right. Here's
that idiot Chris Matthews, who's nothing but a screaming moron.
And he's fat.
He's just, you know what? I don't hate a lot of people. I hate him.
Do you really?
Every time I see him, all he does is once somebody proves him wrong with something, he just yells at them until the end of the bit. That's all he does. He's nothing but he's a hot air machine. And we're trying to be good, and I'm trying to watch the language, and I almost lost him.
You almost did. Now, he has a lot of money, and he might be sending people after you.
Good.
What? I don't.
Good. Anytime Chris wants to come on the show, I guarantee I can out-yell him. It may be incoherent. But
why would you want to do that, though? Make him look like a complete ass and just argue the facts, and he can't defend that.
Every time I look at him, I always think of Chris Farley's character from Saturday Night Live, Foley.
You know what? He has. You know how some people you just look at and you just don't like, and you don't know why. You look at them and you're like, he has the face of somebody I just want to punch. And not that I'm a violent person, but
he has a face for radio.
Like
we do, which is why we're
right.
Here.
And when we're in public, we wear paper bags.
Right.
I've heard this though. I think Mitt Romney's going to be hit again. He's going to be hit hard on the healthcare thing, and I want to touch on this briefly before we move on to another point. Is I think one thing that he needs to do is he's going to keep being hit on the healthcare thing, and President Obama is going to come out and say that, hey, he raised taxes in Massachusetts. If this is a tax, then he raised taxes in his state. Blah blah blah. One thing, and I don't think that Romney's very good at it, but I think what he needs to stick to really get his message out is, hey, we passed health care in Massachusetts because it was a state solution for a state problem, and the 10th Amendment to the Constitution gives the state the right to do that.
And the people voted for it.
And the people voted for it, but we're talking state that enacted it. Now, you had the federal government that enacted a federal health care bill in violation of the United States Constitution and in violation of the 10th Amendment, and that is the difference. They imposed a penalty on the people, although now it's a tax, to penalize you for failing to do something on a federal level, which is unconstitutional, whereas what I did, and I think this is what Romney needs to say, what I did is address a local state issue and impose a state solution for that problem in accordance with the 10th Amendment. One person wants to trample on the 10th Amendment and states' rights, whereas I actually utilized that to solve a problem in my state. And then own whether it worked out or not. Own it. Hey, yes, it didn't work out. It did work out. Whatever your position is going to be from there. That's the first thing I wanted to discuss on him. The second thing I wanted to discuss is something that is kind of an interesting point, and that is this. I don't think Mitt Romney was the strongest for the Republicans to run. And something I have to question, and I think it's a legitimate question, is are the Republicans truly not trying to win this election? And that sounds absurd on its face, but
it does sound a little crazy.
The more I think about this, you have health care that's going to take effect in 2014, I think?
Yeah, that's when it'll be like 100% implemented, I believe.
Okay, so into the next president's term. And if the Republicans cannot get health care overturned, which would be very difficult to do, if they cannot get control of the Senate and the presidency and overturn this law, then it's going to go into effect. And everything, the major government programs or entities that are created, the taxes and so forth are going to come in, and the economy will be hurt. Businesses will suffer and be hurt by this. And one term into this presidency, we will start seeing some of the results of this health care bill, I think. And as a result, that president, be it Mitt Romney if he wins, would be blamed, and the Democrats would be able to seize control again. Whereas if the Republicans lose the election, and Obama owns this 4 years, and he owns the next 4 years, and the nation essentially is transformed, and would probably be close to financial ruin. Well, we are now. If you look at our debt, and we won't, all of the sacred cows, nobody's will take social programs or anything to do what it takes to save this country.
We just want to keep giving it out.
And this health care bill is gonna push it even closer to the edge, if not over the edge.
It's gonna add like another $10 trillion, I think.
So he would own that, and the Republicans would be able to seize control, I think, for a two-term Republican president and at least a one-term Republican follow-up. So for 12 years, perhaps even 16 years, while they tried to turn things around. And I have to wonder, because these people are not stupid politically. So are they running Mitt Romney, who, and let's face it, religion should not be an issue in this race. It should not.
But it's going to be without.
But it's going to be, and especially in the Bible Belt. Mm-hmm. Are people going to stay home and not vote for Mitt Romney and as a result let President Obama win. So would the Republicans put somebody up who is weak with that in mind? And I think that's a legitimate question, and I think what will be telling is who he chooses as the vice president, or who the Republican Party chooses as the vice president. If they choose a conservative, conservative value, conservative Christian, pro-Constitution person, and not a progressive, or which, hey, I think Romney is a progressive light. I do. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. If they choose somebody who's conservative to counterbalance them and to get that vote, then I might rethink this. And I'm not saying that this is the case, but I'm posing it as a possibility. And I want what's your feedback?
Well, it's one of those things too. I agree with you to a point. I think they're at that weird crossroads where do they put all their ducks or all their eggs in one basket? Ducks. Why would I? All their ducks.
Ducks in a row. You were thinking ducks in a row, eggs in a basket. But you can put eggs in a row, and you can put ducks in a basket. So you're fine.
Do they put them all behind Romney and take a chance?
Ducks or the eggs?
And hope ducks.
Okay.
And hope that he wins. And in order to do that, you would have to have, like you said, a strong conservative VP. They'd have to have a Bobby Jindal, a Marco Rubio. My personal favorite would be a Chris Christie. Or do they go with somebody who's kind of a light progressive Republican too? Names being thrown out. There prominently would be Condoleezza Rice, Dr. Rice. So it's going to be interesting. The next month is going to be very telling, I think.
It will.
And the other thing, and it's been talked about before, is what's going to happen when they get to the RNC convention in Florida. What are the delegates going to do?
And that's a good point. Now, here's the thing. Does Romney announce the vice presidential candidate before the convention? I hope not, because then who the heck would watch the convention? What's that?
Before he officially wins the nomination. I mean, is that a smart political move?
Well, not only that, but who would watch the convention if they already know who his running mate would be? I wouldn't. Would you?
Yeah. But,
I mean, we know what the talking points are.
Exactly. Everyone knows what the talking points are.
Do you think the Republicans ran him intentionally as a weak candidate? Because the party put a lot of money, and the party establishment backed him, and I am not a big party establishment person. You guys know that if you listen to the show. But did the Republican establishment they pushed him hard? What was the reason behind it? Was it because he was truly a strong candidate?
Well, was it the best that they had? I don't know.
I don't know. In my opinion, no.
Yeah.
But guess what, Governor Romney, sir, I'm a conservative, and you need to earn my vote.
Well, he needs to. If he's going to be a conservative, he needs to show his conservative.
He does, and I, for one, am not going to vote for somebody simply because they're an R and they're going against Obama. I want my vote to count, and I'm going to vote for the principled person, the person that's great. And I'm not saying that's not Governor Romney, but what I'm saying is, Governor, if you want my vote, earn it. Well, Mr. President, if you want my vote, earn it.
And I'm at that weird crossroads because as much as I agree that you should vote the person that you want to be in office, and if they're not there, then you should find them. But I get nervous with the president being in there with 4 years, and he's kind of carte blanche at that point. I figured Bastille Day, I'd throw a little French in.
That was pretty good.
What's he going to do? How much more is he going to unleash?
At that point, he has nobody to answer to. So
yeah, at all.
Probably a lot.
Exactly.
But you know what?
The country sustain another 4 years of progressive, uber-liberal laws and changes.
Just say crap. Just say crap. Just say crap.
BS.
Thank you.
Total BS.
Now I'm gonna throw this out there. Do we deserve it?
No.
Is it at what point? See, I disagree. I think just like we talked about before with the 17th Amendment.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Brought it right around. Where that came about because the people failed in their responsibility to elect principled politicians in order to up a law and not become corrupt. It's the people's responsibility that they're electing these people, and by these people I mean progressives that are trying to change this country from what it was supposed to be, from what it is now, into something else, something unrecognizable, more towards a socialist state. It's the responsibility of the people, but people don't take that responsibility serious. They say, you know what, I'm a Democrat, and my union says vote Democrat, so I'm going to vote Democrat. Or, hey, I'm a Republican, or I just don't want to see Obama, so I'm going to vote this way, as opposed to really looking at the issues and the individual and voting that way. I think that's what got us in this trouble. So do we as a country deserve where we are? I don't want to say yes, but at the same time, it is the fault of the people. It is our fault. We need to wake up and take a look at the issues and know our history and vote for principled leaders to
take over
be great again.
Right, and that's a key thing, is making this country great again. GGT 183 in our chat room, so if you're not in the chat room, that's your fault, brought up a really good point, is that Republican VP has to be nominated according to Republican Party rules, and that's true to a point, but usually what happens is everyone's already kind of decided who's going to vote for going into it, and that's kind of been the past. But I'll tell you right now, if they go in and there's no clear-cut decision, then Ron Paul's got a lot of delegates. And
he does. Ron Paul has a lot of delegates.
Even though the general conservative party isn't necessarily Ron Paul fans, and he did the nice thing by jumping onto the R this year instead of doing the independent thing that he usually does, in order to not split the vote even more. He could upset and end up being the VP candidate.
He could, but you know what? How's about this? Let me throw this out there. How about instead of parties putting up their candidates, if you are a member of a political party or whatnot, you just, you know what? This is who's running, and it's not just these two people. It's these however many people, however many Republicans, however many Democrats, however many Libertarians, whatever the case may be, and the top electoral vote getter is the president, and the number two is the vice president, like what was when we had George Washington and John Adams.
Yeah, you the actual person was voted for, not the party. And we've talked about this a million times. We were warned against this two-party system that we're locked into.
George Washington.
By President Washington and General Washington, depending on when you talk.
Yeah, it's the same person.
They are the same person. I'm well aware of that. Jeez, really, man? You're just going to do that to me? We try to have a nice show, and every single time.
Hey, you can't. That's
Sorry,
my job. You're not that angry.
Where the hell was I? Oh, I was talking about President Washington.
Or General Washington.
Or General Washington, whichever one. I hate you right now. We were warned against it, and we keep getting caught into it. We've been caught into it.
Oh, no, that's not the general music. I'm sorry.
No, but if he was walking in this room right now, I'd absolutely stand up and let that play. One of the few people, if I could go back in time and hang out with, would be him.
Oh, absolutely.
He'd look at me and call me a fat lunatic, but whatever. Nice haircut, Skull. So, no, we
you don't have hair.
The two-party system, we have to start choosing the best candidate. And if you're a conservative, you choose the best conservative candidate. If you're a liberal,
then don't vote. No, I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding.
But and we've talked about this before too. There's a difference between a Democrat and a progressive Democrat, just like there's a difference between a Republican and a progressive Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional Democrats aren't so far out that you can't work with them, talk with them. You can't find a common ground where everybody's agreeable. Progressives, on the other hand, way off base. I mean,
well, progressives think that the Constitution is a living, breathing document, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly. And Mooney likes to hug Sunshower, who likes to hug the tree and is in the tree living, and
doesn't shave.
And they're and I love this too. And this goes to the vegetarian portions. If you love animals so much, and that's why you're a vegetarian, why are you eating their food all the time?
That's an interesting point. I never thought about that before.
What are they going to eat?
That is an excellent point.
I think that should be the thought to wrap up that conversation. Think about that. If you can see the look I'm getting right now, I just took his point and turned it into a terrible vegetarian reference. Any closing thoughts on the show tonight?
Are you kidding me after that? What? Really?
Come on.
Join us next week when we decide what's better, liquor thongs or regular thongs.
Oh, man, this show has been all sorts of over the road. So, my final closing words, we're going to make an effort to do this all the time. We should do it all the time, is thank those of us, military, those of us Americans, military, first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, everyone who goes to that front line and does the things that other people can't do, protects our freedoms, keeps us safe at night.
We want to thank you. And if you're in the military and you're listening, or if you're a law enforcement officer or a firefighter and you're listening, we thank you.
I want to echo that thought. I want to thank our men and women in uniform, whatever uniform that is, be it member of the armed forces or a civilian law enforcement or firefighters, paramedics, first responders, and so forth.
UPS.
Yeah, no.
You said uniform, sorry.
I said...
Sorry.
Yeah, I got
He's
nothing.
going to throw something at me.
So, I'm done. I'm out.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
I can't
Check
work
us
with
out.
you. This is so ridiculous.
Check us out next
That's
Friday
our last
night.
episode.
It's not our last episode. We'll see you next Friday night at 11:30. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at Sackheads Radio, Twitter at Sackheads. Check our forums out at conservativeoutcry.net. Thanks. Give me that. Thank you guys very much. We'll talk to you next week. Oh, I can't even find the end music. Sorry, guys.